Life-threatening illness precipitates a crisis of reappraisal in a person's life. It is a major upheaval in which a sense of spirituality may be brought to the forefront, especially as the person comes face to face with the fact of his or her own mortality. In this program, we will look at how a person's spirituality is impacted by a life-threatening illness. We will also look at the converse, namely, how spirituality can impact on a person's response to a life-threatening illness. Responses may be troublesome for such a person, for example, in challenging his religious or spiritual beliefs, or in highlighting his guilt and the consequent need of forgiveness. Responses may also be positive, for example, in creating new meanings in the person's life, which he deems to be beneficial and life-giving.
In life-threatening illness, a person's life is really shattered, and it causes people to certainly think about spirituality. They are asking questions like, why has this happened to me? You may remember Rabbi Kushner writing his book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And that very much is a spiritual question that people find themselves encountering at that time. The question of, am I going to survive or not? Will this mean, in fact, my own death, this particular illness? Again, a spiritual journey one is on around survival itself at that point. So it really does brings a lot of things in focus around spirituality, around the value and the meaning of life.
They often view this time as a time that they've reprioritized in their life, that things were going too quickly and this has slowed them down. This has helped them to make contact with people they may have been estranged from, or to reinforce their contacts with children and other loved ones.
It's interesting that people will often talk about a life-threatening illness as being a turning point in their spiritual growth. They discover resources within themselves that they didn't think were there before. Life's going along quite well, and they seem quite self-sufficient. And then all of a sudden, with this life-threatening illness, they now are having to rely on a healthcare team. They're having to rely on family and friends to do things for them. And I think people are very much in touch with their own vulnerability in connection with a life-threatening illness. People are in touch with finding ways to have their spirituality increased so that they can draw on that. And they find themselves kind of going to the well to find more resources for their healing. We take a lot for granted in connection with our lives, and the life-threatening illness gets us in touch with just how valuable time is, how valuable relationships are with significant other people in our lives, and how valuable what we do in our communities happens to be for us.
A critical first step for the nurse to take in addressing spirituality is to determine how the client defines spirituality. Some people describe it primarily in terms of a close connection to a religious framework. Others describe it as a close connection to nature or to music. Still others describe it within the context of meaningful relationships, often familial in nature. Jeff, a young cancer patient, describes his concept of spirituality.
I was raised Presbyterian somewhat, but I don't subscribe to those focused definitions of religion and spirituality and God. I still am in development of what I really believe, and I think I probably always will be. So just because of that purpose, I think I don't use the term God at present. Maybe I will someday in the future. I kind of call it the universe. But as far as a higher power and something that I'm connected to me in here, and that's really what I believe. If I had to have one belief, above all and above anything, I would say that I believe in me. And I don't say that selfishly at all. I just believe in myself and me and the person that I am. And then the person that I am is connected to this big, huge thing. And that happens to be, in my belief, the same thing that we're all connected to.
Knowing what meaning spirituality has to the client, as well as how he expresses his spirituality, helps to build a foundation for effective spiritual care. Developing meaning and purpose is a spiritual need which comes to the forefront when faced with a life-threatening illness. Some people will come to evaluate the illness as a positive force in their lives. Some will answer the question, "Why me?" to their own satisfaction. Others will experience a crisis of meaning for some time, especially if the illness is perceived to hold significant threat. Still others, like Jeff, frame the illness event into the larger context, finding new meaning and purpose as a result of the illness.
I remember being a very young boy and asking, what happens after we die? I remember asking myself that question all the time. What happens after we die? And the only thing I can come up with as far as death and fear is that the only reason we're afraid of it is because we don't know what happens. And I think spirituality helps me explore a little bit of that and maybe find some of the answers that I think make sense. And dealing with my mortality has accelerated that process, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things about facing this major life-threatening challenge, is the perspective that it's helped me develop. What I think my life-threatening illness did was it adjusted my approach. And I took a lot of the same marketing and the strategy knowledge that I gained in university, and instead of applying that to the business world, I decided to start a charity and share my experiences the way I'd always been doing on email groups, but this time with an organization that allows me, I think, to fulfill that spiritual component in my working life as well as on my personal side.
Jeff alludes to a charity which he started as a result of his illness experience. This charity is called Real-Time Cancer and is the first and only cancer charity in Canada that focuses on educating young people about preventing and dealing with cancer.
What I want to talk about is the word cancer.
A big message of what I do with Real-Time Cancer is to talk to young people about positive choices that they can make to help prevent cancer. And if it becomes a reality, then we talk about the positive choices they can make to help deal with it. And that's really just my own philosophy. It's just kind of, again, an expression of me. And I've got this vehicle created that so many people have helped me build, and it allows me to express myself and to say the things that I have learned that are really important to me. And I've been really fortunate to have much feedback from students and older people as well, that my perspective helps them as well. And that's fulfilling. I've connected with my soul when I'm doing that stuff.
Jeff also refers to the positive meaning he has found in the illness, in spite of the realistic fears associated with it. For Jeff, there are aspects of the illness which he does not like, such as the fact that he may die before his parents. Yet he has found a positive side to his illness.
All of the bad stuff, from the first week I was in hospital ever, I wrote an email and I ended it with a quote, and I said, honestly, I wouldn't trade places with anyone right now. And I meant that ever since, through the ups and the downs. After ICU, when I couldn't walk and I had to learn to walk again at 23, I wouldn't have traded places with anyone. And I mean that today as much as I ever meant it. And when